To get started, you want to find both the ends of your shortest cord and match them together, and then run your fingers along it to find the centre. And next I want to take a little bit of jewellery wire that's left over and put this over the cord. I'm going to use this to thread on the beads that I've got. And I got these beads from a shop that's made them out of seashells, I think. And it can be quite hard to thread these beads on if you try putting the ends of the cord through. So I'm using the wire here to go through the bead and then just slide it easily onto the cord. Once you've done that, you can remove the wire from your cord. And then just tie a little knot at the end. You don't need to be too careful with this because it's not decorative, it's just to keep everything in place while you're working with it. You don't want your beads falling off. Once you've done that, you can put your beads to the bottom, and then keeping the centre, you can just tie a little knot to form a loop. And then take your loop and clip it to the top of your board. And then you can clip the other end to the bottom of your board. And next I'm going to use this embroidery thread to do my square knots, because this is a little bit thinner, it's going to fit through the beads better. So you want to match up the ends of your embroidery thread and then just run your fingers along to find the centre. And you're going to use this to form your first knot of your holding cords. You can just knot straight onto the cords here. You just pull each end out at each side and then just go over and then over and then pull it through. And make sure to hold the thread in place while you're forming the first knot. Once you've done that, you can go under, under and through, and you've completed your first square knot. And then you can push that up to the top. And then you want to work your next square knots. And if it does move down the holding cord like this one's done, you can just push it gently back up to the top and then just keep doing your square knots until you've got the first part of your bracelet as long as you want it to be. And how long this is depends on how many beads you've used and what size you're making, so it is a good idea to measure it out beforehand. And once you've got the bracelet as long as you want it to be, you can push up your first bead. Now to thread the embroidery threads inside the bead, I'm going to use the wire again and push it through the centre of the bead. And then you can thread in the embroidery thread. This just makes it a lot easier to pull through. And you can use a needle here if you want to, but the reason I'm not doing that is because I don't want to keep threading, rethreading and undoing it constantly, because you can't knot with that. So once you've pulled both your threads through the bead, you can just adjust everything into place and then push your bead up nice and secure. And then you can do a couple of square knots. Now I'm doing more than one square knot here because the central bead is going to be a little bit bigger, so that it will be clustered too tightly in place. Once you've done that, you can push your next bead into place. And once again, using the wire, just thread it through the centre of the bead. And then you can thread through your embroidery threads. And you can do both at once here as well. And then just pull your wire through the bead. And then neaten your threads. And once that's tidy, you can just push your bead up and put it securely in place, and then just adjust anything that needs adjusting, and then do the same amount of square knots that you did in between the first two beads. And then repeat the process with your next bead. And if you're adding more than 3 here, you can just do this every time you add a new bead. Once you've got all your beads attached, you can just do square knots until the end of your bracelet. And you want to match up the amount of square knots you do at this end to the amount you did to start with. Once your bracelet's as long as you want it, you can remove it from the board. And because I've used embroidery thread here, I'm going to tie a little knot at the end to keep everything in place because I can't seed it with a lighter. Once that's nice and secure, you can trim the ends of the embroidery thread. Next, you want to trim off the excess on your tail ends, leaving long enough thread so that you can tie it on at the end. And then tie a little knot at the end of your tail ends. I'm going to seal these with a lighter, but you can use glue if you prefer. And once you've finished, you should end up with something that looks like this. So now you just want to try on your bracelet. And that is the completed shell bead beach bracelet.